Hey all, this is Once a Future Gamer, and welcome to another Pokemon Challenge. Last time we had a fun effort through Pokemon Yellow, as we asked the question of whether or not I could beat it with just a single Lickitung. Today though, we move to the Hoenn region, and we ask the question of if I can beat Pokemon Sapphire using just Team Magma leader Maxie's team and moves. We did the reverse of this challenge a few weeks back, Ruby with Archie's team, and looking at what we have here, I'm feeling a great deal more confident as the Camerupt has a lot more coverage than the Sharpedo did. We get Earthquake and we get Rock Slide, which is useful. We are not a bad physical attacker either. Crobat and Mightyena bring what they brought before, a speedy attacker and a Stallmon. Predictions. Roxanne might be tricky, but I can't see anyone else giving us trouble until the Psychic Gym, and even then, that would be worse in Emerald. Wallace and Glacier might be tricky because of their water types, but if I'm flinging Camerupt at them, then something has gone badly wrong. I would have worries about Phoebe and Drake too. Steven, though, should be easier here than he was in Ruby with Archie's team. Just the rules then. In combat, I can only use Maxie's team and moves. Until I acquire the first move of a Pokemon set, I can use any move, but once that first move is acquired, anything goes. HM and Pickup Pokemon can be used for field moves and abilities. Only held items and Pokeballs in battle, healing permitted outside of combat. Last of all, no glitches or exploits. Also, the battle will be on set mode at all times, so I don't get any free switch-ins. Just like the Archie challenge, this was submitted by Jared Bowen. If you have any ideas for future challenges, then drop them in the comments section down below, or head to my Twitter or Discord. If you do enjoy what you see, like, subscribe and ring that bell. I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Torchic with Numel so that we can begin the game with Maxie's ace. Maxie don't need no nicknames and neither do we. I replaced Torchic because that will give the rival Mudkip, and in theory, that's a harder one for us to fight. Given I can just sit Crobat or Mightyena on it, it's spurious. We do not actually learn the first mandatory move until level 29, so we got plenty to go with until then. Because Maxie uses his Camerupt as a physical attacker, I'm going to be EV training that attack stat every chance I get. And probably speed as well, so the local Poochyena populace better beware. Before long, it's time for us to go and face May, and I want to get this out of the way so I can catch a bunch of Zigzagoon and go about the pickup strategy, as well as acquiring my Poochyena that I'll be doing the run with. As with the Archie run, I can't get Zubat until just before the second gym. The May fight is terrifying actually. Although her Mudkip doesn't know any water moves, we get hit with a Growl on the first turn, and it just wrecks our attack, meaning that come the point when she starts to hit us with tackles of her own, we actually take more damage than we are dealing. So, we are trading blows, and it's getting to the point that I am actually worried we're going to get knocked out by her Mudkip, because it seems like we are slowly marching towards destruction. Thankfully though, our final blow is a crit and we wipe it out, so that was a relief. I catch a Poochyena as soon as I get the chance and add it to the team. I start to train it by getting HP EVs from Wurmple. I'll head into Petalburg Woods and start grinding the defense EVs the first chance I get, hitting Silcoon and Cascoon. With Mightyena only getting Intimidate as an ability in this gen, it seems a safe bet unless we're fighting special attackers. Anyway then, as time goes by, I move to face Roxanne. Now I'm feeling pretty confident here because I'm sure we are going to be able to magnitude our way through this fight with Numel. I mean, I suppose there's a chance I could be wrong, but we'll have to see. We smash Geodude into Pebbles with Magnitude 8, which is a pretty great start. Though then, the Nose Pass comes out and this thing is tanky. We hit it with a Magnitude 7, which does about 2/3 of its health before it goes for Harden, and she heals it. I can already tell this is going to be a pain. Or not, as our Magnitude 7 crits, and we down it hard to give us a win and the first badge. The next plan of action is to catch a Zubat in Dewford, and set about training it up ahead of Brawley. On the way there though, Poochyena evolves into Mightyena. So we've got one of the final members of the team. We just need to start acquiring those moves now that we'll be stuck with. Also, I get caught out again as we encounter May at the exit to Rustboro, and she doesn't fight us in this game like she does in Emerald. In Granite Cave, I catch a Zubat with an Ultra Ball that one of my Zigzagoon retrieved, and I immediately set about training it up so that I can get a speedy, hard-hitting powerhouse. As long as I don't mind those power moves being flying type. I go do the training north of Old Ale Town, where the Zigzagoon and the Poochyena run free and we can attack away. When I get Wing Attack, I go after Brawly because it's going to give us a really big advantage versus his team. And away we go into his gym as the fight begins. Machop is a strange opponent as it narrowly survives Wing Attack on red health and hits a Seismic Toss. And then he heals it. And then we go for Wing Attack to put it in red health again. And then he heals it again. And then we have to hit it twice more after that to bring it down, which I will say is annoying. I'm prepped for Makahita to be a pain, but we one-shot it with Wing Attack to give us a win. At which point, just before we do get the badge, Zubat evolves into Golbat. The next major fight we have to contend with is the May one beneath Cycling Road. And I think we might be okay here. She'll have Marsh Stomp, but I think we'll be able to handle it. We begin with Mightyena versus her Shroomish, and we hit an attack before getting hit with both Stun Spore and Leech Seed, which isn't particularly ideal, especially as we get fully paralysed. I withdraw in favour of Numel and we get tagged with a Mega Drain before taking it out with Ember. She goes for Marsh Stomp next and I swap into Golbat as the Mudshot fails. We take it out with 2 Wing Attacks as it only hits a Water Gun in exchange. May's own Numel is a one hit with Wing Attack. Hardest rival fight out of the way then. I initially don't want to level Numel too much because we get Takedown at level 29. And once we get that first move, that's the only one we can use. So I will be minus magnitude in that fight if we have Takedown beforehand. Or I could just grind up to level 37 for Earthquake. I might do that. The whole point of this is using Maxie's team and moves. Some of these moves are quite late, like for Numel. So, first gym, I can't really do much about that. Second gym, we did it. We used Golbat's Wing Attack. I'm going to level. I mean, I really, ideally, want to be having everything with almost completed movesets come the third gym. And so, I train, and train, and train. Keep on training. And eventually, Numel evolves into Camerupt, giving us something that will have a huge advantage in the gym. Not that it will give us much of an advantage in the gym, but it's also not long before Golbat evolves into Crobat, and we're almost where we need to be. I'm getting the grinding out of the way now, so I should be okay for the next bit of the game. Plus, I really want Mightyena to get an attacking move, since we learn Roar and Swagger first, and then Scary Face. So, I can do a lot of stat stuff, but not actually attack. Fantastic! Anyway, Watson. We are probably massively over-leveled come this point, but at least that should make it a quicker fight. Watson can be irritating with parafusion tactics, so that's something we have to be aware of. I always think this gym is unquestionably dangerous, what with all these exposed electrical arcs. I wonder if anyone ever died in Watson's gym. Anyway, this is not a quick fight. Camerupt fights Magnemite, and if we had a ground move, this would be over very, very quickly. However, we do not, as Magnitude has been locked. So unfortunately, we have to use Rock Slide and Takedown attacks to try and bring it down. As Magnemite are quite defensively bulky, as you might expect from a Steel type, this is not pleasant. It shrugs off most of these blows, and it doesn't help when he heals it. I swap into Mightyena and Swagger it instead when Camerupt gets confused with Supersonic, though we do have our Dark Doggo paralysed very quickly. Camerupt comes back in and takes it out. Voltorb is easy. We one-hit it with Rock Slide, and the fact I don't have to worry about that is nice. For Magneton, I swap back into Mightyena and Swagger it. Having Swagger when we also have Intimidate as an ability is very frustrating and contradictory. I drop 3 Scary Face attacks on it as well as another Swagger while we get blasted with Sonic Boom and Shockwave attacks. When my Cheena grows down, I fling Crobat in and confuse it before swapping back into Camerupt and start hitting Rock Slides. I discover that Takedown actually does more damage, and so that's the move I go for, and eventually, though it does take a lot of time, Magneton goes down. Before we fight Archie at Mount Chimney, I get all my movesets together so that we're all good and ready to proceed with the challenge properly. I don't think this fight will be altogether an issue, and I begin with Crobat versus my Cheena. I go tactical and try Air Cutter because I'm hoping for crits. I hope Air Cutter is that move with a high crit chance, or I wonder if I'm thinking of something else. We do get a flinch, probably because of the King's Rock we're holding, and down it with another Air Cutter. I fire an Air Cutter at Golbat, hoping for a crit or a flinch, but it confuses us. We hit ourselves in confusion before it lands Wing Attack. We shake ourselves out of confusion very quickly and knock it out next turn before he sends out the Sharpedo. I just fire a flurry of Air Cutters at it. I don't want to get tagged by its rough skin ability. He does heal it a bunch of times, which drag out the fight before we take it out at like the 4th or the 5th attempt. Smile, you son of a! Fire-type Flannery is next, and I think I've got a pretty good strategy here for her. It rhymes with Murph Shake. Navigating her gym is always a pain, but we get to her eventually, and I send out my Camerupt. Go, Volcanic Camelmon! We down her Slugma with Rock Slide, which is a pretty fitting ending to a pretty bad Pokemon. She utilises a second Slugma, and we miss Rock Slide while it goes for Sunny Day. Screw playing around then. I go for Earthquake, and Slugma goes down as surely as if we'd poured salt over it. And last is Torkoal, her mighty defensive Colossus. We one hit it with Earthquake and the job is done. Normal type trainer Norman is next, or that's Dad to the protagonist. We fight through the gym and I need a strategy for facing off with him. It's a bit hard to brute force a Slacking. Not impossible, but I do need to be careful. His first Slacking comes out and I begin with Camerupt. Now it is faster and lands a Facade, but we knock it out with a crit Earthquake. So that was pretty fortunate. Vigoroth is next, and it's one of those vicious cycle fights I hate. We hit an Earthquake that knocks it down to a quarter and flinch it thanks to the King's Rock. He heals it, we wear it down with Earthquake. He heals it, we wear it down with Earthquake again and again until we take it out. He goes for his second Slacking, and I swap into my Cheena for the Intimidate. We do get hit with a Focus Punch, but a combination of our defence training and the Intimidate means we survive that blow. I land a Scary Face on the Truant turn and break the Focus Punch with a takedown on 2 separate occasions, one of them being a crit. My Cheena is weak though, so I swap into Crobat and we down Slacking with a Wing Attack. Moving on, we have a May fight outside the Weather Institute, and I'm not concerned here as we begin with Crobat, who not only starts the fight but finishes it as well. Shroomish goes down to Air Cutter. I use Air Cutter so we don't make contact and risk the Effect Spore. Numel is a one hit with Wing Attack when it comes out next. Marsh Stomp is last, and I doubt we'll be able to one hit it. I go for Bite, hoping for a flinch, but we get no joy on that respect as we get barreled into by Takedown. But we finish it off with Wing Attack on the next turn. Flying type trainer Winona is next, and we should be okay here. Camerupt has a rock move. I just need to be careful around Pelipper. Potentially, we need to be worried about Skarmory too, given that we don't have a great way to hurt that thing, since we don't have electric and fire moves. Swellow is first, and we miss Rock Slide on the first turn with Camerupt, while it clips us with Aerial Ace. We shrug the blow off. He goes for Double Team on the next turn, but we do land the Rock Slide to take it out. Pelipper is next, and I swap into Crobat. It goes for the Double Protect, the first one failing, before we land a Wing Attack and she heals it, wasting one of her Hyper Potions. We take it out with Wing Attack and Bite, but I could really have done with her burning both those potions because Skarmory is next, and this fight is absolutely annoying. First of all, it knows Sand Attack and it keeps on using it. Second of all, fun fact, Steel Wing has a chance to raise the defence of an already defensively sound Pokemon, and we're mostly physical attackers here. The only special attack we have being Crobat's Bite, which A, is not coming from a special attacker, and B, Steel resisted Dark in this generation. So we have a good few minutes of switching around Pokemon to brush off the effects of Sand Attack. The good thing about constantly switching Mightyena in is that Skarmory's attack stat does get wrecked, as well as its speed when we use some scary face tactics on it. Eventually though, Crobat does take Skarmory down after what seems like a lifetime, and we get the dubious prize of fighting Altaria. I had so many issues with this thing as a kid. We too hit it with Wing Attack though. It only goes to Dragon Dance in exchange, and it still can't outspeed my Zoomy Bat. As we go around Mount Pyre, here's some trivia for you. In Pokemon Emerald, you fight Maxie 3 times and Archie only once. The Crobat line is a unique type combination. Camerupt is the only non-rock type Pokemon that can have Solid Rock as an ability, but not in this game because that ability didn't exist yet. Camerupt got a Mega Evolution in Gen 6 that is a 4-way tie for the Fire type Pokemon with the lowest base speed stat, along with Slugma, Torkoal and Litwick. In some early artwork, Mightyena has a black nose rather than a red one. Just an opinion, but I think all 3 of these have pretty decent shiny forms. In Lilycove City, I take on the rival fight outside the department store since I want to go in and sell some stuff. This fight is a pretty straightforward win with Crobat as we sweep her team. We take down first the Swellow with Wing Attack, and then when the Numel comes out next, we do the same. Shroomish is a one-hit with Air Cutter. Why has she not evolved that, by the way? This game feels very half-assed in places before we 2-hit Marsh Stomp with Wing Attack. It only misses a takedown in exchange. The next major fight, though, is the Psychic Gym and the double battle with Tate and Liza. This is a much more preferable fight than it is in Emerald due to them only having the 2 Pokemon. Because of the advantages, I begin with Mightyena and Camerupt. Mightyena for the Psychic immunity and the Intimidate. Camerupt because I want to hook rocks at them with Hardstone boosted Rock Slide. Crobat can come in and sweep at the end if need be with the super effective Black Glasses boosted Bite. This fight drags on for a very, very long time. So we begin with Mightyena and Camerupt. I fire some scary faces at them both just so that Camerupt does outspeed both Solrock and Lunatone. See, we have Rock Slide, which not only hits them both simultaneously, but it can also cause a flinch if we move first. Unfortunately, Lunatone has Hypnosis and never misses the move, so that's an immediate red flag right there that the game is trying to troll me. Very suspicious when that move doesn't miss. First, Mightyena gets put to sleep, which isn't an issue. I do throw a few amnesias up for Camerupt so that we can tank psychic attacks a bit better, since some of them do come our way. Plus, our special defence does get dropped by 1 attack. When Camerupt gets put to sleep, that is also an issue. Our Rock Slide doesn't do massive damage, but it does enough, especially combined with the occasional crits we get and a few flinches. The issue comes when I realise that they have 4 Hyper Potions, and this makes the fight go on even longer. Certainly makes it that little bit more painful. When Mightyena goes down, Crobat comes straight in to get hit with Hypnosis. So that's terrifying, given that Crobat really doesn't want to be taking psychic type attacks. So many times we get one of these 2 monsters into red health and the heal gets dropped, and I'm ready to bang my head on the desk over and over as time goes by, particularly when my team is getting worn down and down. Lunatone keeps using Calm Mind too, which is scary. Plus, it's the double-edged sword of Bite not working as well as it might when Crobat does land it. It does eventually go down to a 2 versus 1. Lunatone versus Crobat and Camerupt when we do take Solrock down. With it weak and them out of potions, it takes Crobat down, but we've done enough for Camerupt to land the finishing blow and give us the win. We were in a good situation there because whichever one went down, the other one would have been able to finish it. That fight took way too long and I'm so glad that that's over. Hopefully, an easier fight next as we tackle Archie in the undersea cavern. That's an interesting way of looking at it anyway. The Mightyena fight is first and I go for the mirror match using my own Mightyena. It's really falling behind in levels, but I doubt it's going to win me many fights anyway. We intimidate each other and scary face each other a bunch of times before I throw a swagger at it, and it does hit itself a few times in confusion, still trying to lower our speed when it does get the chance to attack. This fight feels like a chess game as we try to counter each other's stat drops, all until right at the end when we get hit with swagger and a crit takedown from Archie's Mightyena. We also hit ourselves in confusion and that weakens us, but at the same time we do land a takedown that's enough to end it. We try to scary face Crobat, but it is too fast and does to us what our Crobat has been doing all game, downing a weakened enemy with wing attack. I send Camerupt and it hits Confuse Ray as we try to go for Rock Slide, landing an air cutter on us as well. Rock Slide isn't a one hit, but even as he uses a super potion, landing a few more Rock Slides is enough to end it. His Sharpedo is last and it would be terrifying if that thing had any water moves. It really would be. As it is, it hits Slash, which does do a lot of damage, but we can then down it with Earthquake. Water Gym time then, and I wonder just how much work Crobat is going to have to put in here to get the win against 5 decently powerful Pokemon. Just a thought, Camerupt is probably not going to be much use here, and ditto Mightyena. Well, actually, Crobat one hits Love Disc with a wing attack, and there's 4 to go. Celio is next, and I swap into Mightyena because I'm not sure if we'll one hit it, and I sure don't want to be hit with an ice move. We free hit Celio with takedown, and it misses 2 Aurora Beams on us, thanks to the Lax Incense Mightyena is holding. So that was a fortunate piece of luck. Whiscash is next. We hit a takedown, which doesn't do much before it uses Rain Dance and hits Water Pulse, which leaves us weak, even as I use Roar to get it out of the battle and bring Milotic in. We hit a Scary Face on Milotic to lower its speed before it takes Mightyena out with Water Pulse. I gamble and send Camerupt in to damage it with Rock Slide, hoping for a flinch. The gamble backfires spectacularly when we miss Rock Slide and get our 4 times weak to water Camerupt one hit by a rain boosted Water Pulse from a Milotic. I did say it was a risk. Crobat can inflict big damage on Milotic, but we do have to shrug off an Ice Beam. Thankfully, it spends the rest of the fight with Crobat trying to recover, and we just keep hitting it until it goes down. When Whiscash comes back out, we go through more of the same, but this time he starts burning Hyper Potions on it. We do eventually take it down though, but it's slowly elevating my stress level, especially as it goes to Rain Dance again and a Water Pulse hits us. That fear of confusion continues to exist and it's a very real threat. Seeking is last. We can 2-hit it, but a Water Pulse does land, and again, that fear of confusion grips my heart like an iron crab. But it never comes and we down it with a pair of wing attacks. I've never been so worried by a Seeking before. That's 8 badges down and we can head to Victory Road. The Wally fight isn't until the end of Victory Road in Ruby and Sapphire. So while we're heading through, let's talk about what's ongoing with the channel. Last week was Pokemon Yellow with a single Lickitung, something that I turned my attention to despite it not getting a lot of love in the scheme of things. If you haven't checked that out, then check out the playlist. We also had last week the 3rd episode of the Skyward Sword playthrough. We had episode 24 of the Fable Anniversary playthrough, as well as episode 7 and 8 of the playthrough of Pokemon Insurgents. Remember, Mystery Dungeon is on hold for the time being. I want to get to the end of Let's Go Pikachu and Fable Anniversary before the release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in a few weeks. Also as well, we had the final 2 parts of the playthrough of the Shadows of Rose DLC for Resident Evil Village. Next week, we'll be back to the Revelations 2 playthrough stuff, for anyone who's interested in my survival horror content. I'll potentially be beginning my playthrough of the remake of Resident Evil 1 at some point soon, but you will not be seeing that for a few weeks or so. If you're interested in next week's challenge, we're going back to Gen 2 and it's going to be Pokemon Silver with a single Smoochum. So come on by this time next week to check that one out. Baby Pokemon runs are always interesting, even if Smoochum is one of the better ones. As always, if you have any ideas for future challenges, drop them in the comments section or follow the links in the description to my Twitter or my Discord. Also down there is a link to the Patreon on there if you want to support the channel in that way. Anyway, Wally, let's go hand him a beating. It's been long overdue. I always feel like Wally could have easily had more of a part in these games. I start with Crobat, he goes for Altaria. Wing Attack hits Altaria before he goes for Safeguard and heals it. We go for another Wing Attack, but he swaps out for Magneton. It tanks our Wing Attack quite well, but we still do decent damage considering the move is quad resisted. I swap into Camerupt and it misses Supersonic before we down it with Earthquake. Altaria comes back out and we down it with Rock Slide. So far so good. Delcatty goes down to a Soul Earthquake to nobody's surprise before Gardevoir comes out next. It survives Earthquake on a sliver of health, unhelpfully, and hits us with a Psychic that lowers our special defense. He heals it, then it survives a takedown and we have to hit it one more time to take it out. Last is Roselia. It does land a Leech Seed, but we hit it with 2 Rock Slides to end that as a threat, and it means Wally is no more. Well, as a challenge anyway. We don't kill him, that'd be weird in a Pokemon game. I do a bit more training in Victory Road because I figure I'm probably not ready for the league yet. In truth, I get the pickup squad out and try to get my hands on more PP ups. Anyway, after that grinding, here's the team. Mychina is at level 50, Camerupt is at level 61 and Crobat is at level 62. I personally don't think this will be a high enough level, but if you want to agree or disagree, drop your comments in the comments section. Now, just as a note, I do have like 30 rare candies, so if stuff does go massively sideways, we do have an out for it. Anyway, let's begin. Elite Four Sydney is first, and he is a Dark Trainer. I'm not too worried here. He's usually the easiest of the Hoenn Elite Four. I need to be careful because he starts with Mychina and it likes to inflict a Sand Attack as well as the cursory Intimidate. I'll put my own Mychina up top. This literally turns into a dogfight very, very quickly as the 2 Mychina intimidate each other and then start landing takedowns on each other. Mine inflicting blow after blow that eventually drives him into a healing range after a few turns. Unfortunately though, his Mychina gets a crit on mine that deals huge damage right before the heal, so we can't knock it out. Mine goes down and I switch into Crobat, who downs that Mychina with a Wing Attack very quickly. Up next is Shiftry. Interesting choice to face a flying type, who goes down to Wing Attack. I wonder what the game was doing there. Next is Cacturn, another interesting choice to face a flying type, who we then down with Wing Attack. Sharpedo is out next and it goes down to a crit Air Cutter before Absol is last. 2 Air Cutters take it out despite it making best efforts to try and recover its health with a Citrus Berry. And just like that, we're done. That went way easier than I thought it would. Phoebe won't be though. She can be absolutely horrific. I have so many mental scars from these battles in these challenges with her. Particularly the Emerald with Slacking Run. I've got her number though. I've got a pretty good idea what she's going to do, and so I'm going to psych her out. I begin with Mychina for the Intimidate and immediately switch into Crobat. I'm expecting a Protect, and when the Dusclops goes for Confuse Ray, I'm miffed enough to go back and switch into Mychina for another Intimidate. Surely she's going to Protect now. Nope, she goes for Curse. Okay, it's missing half its health. I go back into Crobat and tank a Shadow Punch before biting it. It survives on a sliver, she heals it, and we 2-hit it with wing attack. Sableye is out next, and we 2-hit it with wing attack, but we do get clipped with a psychic that hurts our Crobat. Bayonet is next, and I switch into Camerupt because I'm expecting a Thunderbolt or an Ice Beam for some reason, but she goes for Psychic. We hit an Earthquake to leave it on red health, and I'm expecting a heal, so I go for Amnesia, but instead we get hit with 2 Shadow Balls for massive damage before we do take it out. Dusclops number 2 goes down to a crit Earthquake, massive relief, before the second Bayonet goes down in the same fashion. 2 crits in a row! Well, I'm not going to complain at that. That was pretty tame by Battles with Phoebe standards. Glacier could be awkward, given my 2 main Pokemon are weak to water and ice. So I think I might have to be careful here. I begin with my Mightyena because I'm expecting Celio to be out first, just like it is in Emerald. Yeah, I made a mistake with that because Glalie is first. Now I've got a choice. Try to knock it out with my Mightyena or switch it up. It goes for Hail. I go for Roar to bring the Walrein out onto the field. I swagger it a bunch of times and hit it with takedowns, feeling pretty confident that it doesn't know any physical moves. The only move it really hits us with is Surf, and that's right at the end of the fight. Walrein hits itself a bunch of times in confusion, prompting her to heal it, while we land a bunch of takedowns on it, but ultimately it's too much for us. At one point we've got it at +6 in attack. It lands a Surf and downs Mightyena eventually. I gamble. I don't see what else I can do. I send Camerupt in, hopeful that we can land a Rock Slide. We do hit the move and it downs it, so at least her ace is out of the fight. Celio is next and I swap into Crobat. I've got more confidence of Crobat surviving an ice attack than Camerupt surviving a water attack, especially when I do need Camerupt to deal with the Glalie. Crobat does take the Celio down, but it's a grueling fight that leaves us at the half health mark after hail damage, and us getting clattered with a few surf attacks. Glalie is next, and Camerupt has to come in and hit it with some rock slides to take it out, but we also get hit with an Ice Beam. This is about the only time in this run that I am thankful for the Magma Armour ability. Celio, number 2, is next. I swap back into Crobat, only to get hit with Dive because I have no counter for it, and this is one time when being faster is an issue. I do hit a wing attack that does about half its health, but Celio comes in and takes Crobat down. Camerupt comes in with Celio at the half health mark and misses Rock Slide. I do say a few words on that aren't repeatable on the channel, but rather than going for the water move that would end us, Celio puts the hail back up, and we hit it at the second attempt with Rock Slide to beat it. The last Glalie is faster than us and lands a few Ice Beams, but ultimately we too hit it with Rock Slide. Whew, that was a rough fight. I'm not confident versus Drake, I know that much. I think we will struggle. But I suppose we can only see. If we can hit Salamence and Altaria with Rock Slide, we might be okay. A big if, I will say. Anyway, we open with Mightyena versus Shelgon. I want to try and get Salamence in early to take it out, and so I roar. Shelgon tries for a Rock Tomb before we get it out, but it's Altaria who comes in. It hits us with Dragon Breath for paralysis and starts Dragon Dancing. We manage to roar it out after paralysis, but Shelgon comes back in. This is already looking like a doomed effort, as I make one final roar and in comes Flygon, who does take Mightyena out. Drat. Crobat comes in and lands a wing attack. Flygon putting the Sandstorm up in exchange. We continue to hit it over and over until finally we do take it down. Shelgon is out next and I go for a series of bites, hoping for flinch luck, and I get it. 3 bites are enough to down Shelgon and I breathe a huge sigh of relief, especially considering we come out of the fight unscathed. Altaria is next and we go for bites and wing attacks, eventually taking it down as it only goes for Dragon Dancers. Still not faster than my Crobat, haha! Flygon, number 2, is next, and Crobat is on a roll. We fire some bites and wing attacks at it, prompting him to heal it, but it doesn't do too much damage to us, even when we get struck with Flamethrower. Crobat does down Flygon before facing Salamence. We get intimidated, we hit it with Confuse Ray and manage to get it to hit itself and even get a flinch off bite. Salamence does take Crobat down though. Well, I can't really accuse Crobat of not pulling its weight in that fight. Camerupt comes in, we get hit by Fly before launching a Rock Slide at it, which it survives. I'm toying with going for Amnesia in anticipation of the heal, but instead it goes for Crunch and we down it with another Rock Slide. Phew! We kind of pulled it back there from the jaws of defeat. Crobat definitely has been most valuable Pokemon in a lot of these fights so far. Anyway, Stephen, I think we will be having an easier time here than we did with Archie's team. Metagross and Aggron shouldn't be too bad if we can Earthquake them. I think the main issue will be his Skarmory, and we need to begin with Crobat because it has Toxic. I'm not convinced we will be able to do it here, but I guess we'll see. It takes a long time for Crobat to knock Skarmory out. We do get good flinch luck at the start as we try to keep it confused, but that luck does slowly fade away after a while. We even get a crit, and before long we've gotten Skarmory to the point where he has to burn a full restore to keep it alive. Of course, unfortunately, that does mean we've got to start wearing it down again and again and again and again, and we get clipped a few times with Steel Wing that do hurt Crobat badly. By the time we take it down, it started to really grate on my sanity. It takes a lot, and I mean a lot, of bites. Credilli is next, and it shrugs off our wing attack to land an Ancient Power, and I switch into my Mightyena. We get hit with Giga Drain and Confuse Ray as we swagger it to try and hit a few takedowns, but all to little avail. There really is nothing that Mightyena can do versus Credilli. So I bring Crobat back in hopes that we will be able to finish it. Unfortunately, our Air Cutter isn't enough to take it out and it brings Crobat down. This just got a lot harder. Camerupt downs Credilli with Earthquake before Aggron is next. A single Earthquake is enough to bring Aggron crashing down, so that's positive. Metagross is next. Now, it is faster than us, which is not good, and it hits Earthquake to leave us on red health. Unfortunately, our own Earthquake attack doesn't end it. It does miss Meteor Mash though, what an idiot, and we take it out with another Earthquake. Claydol is next, and unfortunately, we don't have any sort of answer to it at this point. It is faster than Camerupt, who doesn't have a good way of hurting it, so I go back into Mightyena to try and injure it, but to no avail as both Mightyena and then Camerupt are both brought down by Claydol. So, I'm curious what would happen if Crobat and Camerupt were both 10 levels higher. I'm going to pop some rare candies and see what happens. I raise them both to level 75 and try this again. I figure something has to give eventually. Versus Skarmory, we have much less flinch luck as it happens. Our bites do slightly more damage, but unfortunately, it still takes a lot. Worse, it doesn't stay confused that often for that long, and even when it does hit itself in confusion, it does very little damage. It doesn't hit them that often, but the Steel Wings also hurt when it lands them on us, but it's a case of perseverance. He also drops a full restore on it, which really doesn't help matters, but despite him wimping out and using the item, we keep on plugging away at it. Eventually, after what feels like an eternity, we take the Skarmory down with Crobat missing about 2/3 of its health. Okay then, Mightyena comes out to face Credilli. We throw a swagger at it to try and hit it with takedowns. I don't think we can win, but I do want to get it below the half health mark so that Camerupt can end it. It finishes Mightyena with an Ancient Power, and of course it gets the stat buff. That's not good. Camerupt comes in and 2 hits it with Earthquake, but the one attack, Cradilly, does land is a crit ancient power that leaves us on 4 HP. There are a few choice words there. Thanks to the Shell Bell, we get some health back when we one-hit Aggron with Earthquake, and some more back in the next round when we one-hit Metagross 2 with the same move, and that is massive. We're down to 2 on 2 with both my Pokemon looking worn out. Claydol is next, and I go into Crobat to avoid the Earthquake. We bite it a bunch of times in hope of getting flinches. We do get quite lucky on that, as it only throws up Reflect rather than attacking, and we can take it out despite Steven trying to keep it alive with a full restore. We go through the bites once again and eventually take it out with 2 more bites. Bless the damage range. Armaldo is last, and I go on the bite rampage once more, getting 2 flinches from 3 bites before it downs us with ancient power, but thankfully no stat boost. Camerupt has to come in and swallow the spike's damage. Steven full restores twice as we throw earthquakes at it, but it does at least give us some health recovery. Rock Slide would do super effective damage, but I don't trust the accuracy. I'm sticking with the stab earthquake until eventually we take him down as I breathe a huge sigh of relief, because with that victory we have won the run and Steven guides us into the Hall of Fame where we will be immortalised for all time, despite May coming in and trying to horn in on our parade. Well, that was rough. We didn't lose a fight right up until that first champion attempt. It was pretty smooth running right all the way up until the Elite Four. Mind you, probably even before that, we definitely had a difficulty spike come the final 2 gyms. But it's over and I'm relieved. That was intense. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so very much for watching. If you did enjoy, leave a like or a comment. If you haven't already, subscribe away. Help the channel grow. If you have any ideas for future challenges, there's a said comment section, plus links to my Twitter or my Discord in the description. Join me again this time next week for another Pokemon challenge as we hit Pokemon Silver with just a single Smoochum. One that is sure to be interesting. You know, I'm noticing something about the credits here. The Pokemon shown in the credits are ones I caught through the game. The 3 I used, Crobat, Mightyena and Camerupt, Chinchou, Zigzagoon, Tentacool, Wingull, Linoon, all HM slaves, plus Kyogre. How about that? What's going on with me? Well, winter is approaching, the days are getting shorter, the nights getting colder and longer. It's definitely warm clothing weather. Halloween is gone, Bonfire Night is gone, and Christmas is soon approaching. I should probably start thinking about Christmas shopping soon. There's a lot of new possibilities ahead for me. Some false starts are behind me now. Anyway, we will see what happens. We're nearly out of time now, so all that's left for me to do is once again say thanks for watching. This has been Once and Future Gamer. This has been Pokemon Sapphire with Maxie's team and moves. Take care, folks. Have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye now. So long.